Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of Yes, the Shine Out Loud Show with me, Lillian Ogbogo. Now, tonight, let's get a little comfortable, pull up a chair, pour something lovely as we get into the show tonight, as we're going to be talking about sex. All the good things, not the bad things. We're going to talk about all the myths, the stuff that gets in the way of us enjoying an amazing sex life in our relationships with the sex Duchess herself, Duchess Iphie. People, join me and welcome the Sex Duchess on the show. Hi, Duchess.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. It's been a long day, but I'm good.
Good. You're here, so let's all get comfortable. Yeah. So, okay, we are calling this Sex Duchess, and others know you as Duchess Iphie. So, Duchess, tell me, what led you to become a sex coach?
Oh, let's see. Where do I start this story from? Okay, so let me start from the very beginning. So I used to be married, and during the time I was married, you know, you have this idea of what your marriage should be, how to be a good wife, and in effect, I thought I was being a good wife. But my husband and I used to have arguments, and sometimes it just centered around sex. And I was just like, I don't understand. You know, you're getting it, so I don't understand why you're complaining. I just don't get it. You know, I'm being a wife and giving you a good home, taking care of the kids. I'm going to work, keeping the house clean. You know, giving you my body as well, just as I'm supposed to. So I don't understand what the problem is. But anyway, it would appear that I wasn't given enough. And I was tired, you know, and you know how it is. You come back from work, you have other things to do, and the last thing you want to do is to get into bed and just kind of say, okay, yeah, take me. So basically that argument just escalated to the point where I was like, you know what, if you want someone else, find someone else. I don't care. You know, I'm just like, oh yeah, it was literally, excuse me, it was literally at that point where I was just like, I don't care. I'm just like, you know, I'm doing everything else. It's not like I'm starving you. You're just being greedy. Anyway, I've got to be honest. There's no point, you know, there's no point lying. So we kind of just got to a point where the marriage disintegrated, and I had to go through a healing process. And this happened just as I was turning 40. And I was like, you know, it's kind of like, you know how they say life begins at 40. So I was like, okay, I need to kind of work through the issues, find out what went wrong. So I saw a therapist first to kind of work through the whole marriage and not take the sole blame for the marriage, you know, not working. And obviously I've got 2 kids. So it's kind of like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm okay so I can be a good mum. After that, I then saw a life coach because my sister said she had a business coach and she had a life coach. Like, okay, you know what? Let me see what this coaching thing is about. So talking to her, lovely lady, I love her because she understood my inability to follow my heart. I'm a head person. I'm very logical. You know, it has to make sense. If it don't make sense, I don't know what you're talking about. And she then made me realize that actually I had sexual inhibitions. I was like, no, I don't. I mean, I'm the girl that can talk about sex for England. And she was like, there must be, because why would you not want to freely give yourself to your husband? And I was like, I don't know. And then we kind of started to work through what was going on and identifying my own barriers, my own sexual barriers, and kind of started to demolish them bit by bit. And, you know, once in a while it still flares up. And so I was kind of like, if I can have these issues, and I thought I was open-minded, sexually aware and all that kind of stuff, then how many other people are like me, are going through their marriage, having these issues and not sure what to do with them? So I was like, I wonder if there's something I can do here. But this is during the period where I was also finding my purpose. Because like, okay, you know how it is. Everyone talks about, oh, find your purpose. You know, if you find something you love, then you don't need to work anymore. That kind of, I was in that transition zone.
Oh, yeah, that conversation.
Yeah. So I then was like, oh, okay, so I need to find my purpose. I had my sister. I mean, she's like a director of an international bank, and we would speak a lot. So I used to provide her a lot of clarity, and my friends would come to me, and I used to do what I call informal coaching. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just, when you're just sitting down, you're like, okay, I think people have issues here. I'm in a lot of sex groups on Facebook that people put me on. Mm-hmm. I don't make jokes about this. I take sex really seriously. So I don't make fun of people who have what I'll call inadequacies in sexual activities. I really, I really have an affinity for them. Like, there has to be more than making fun of them. There has to be a solution.
Of course.
And I do informal coaching. So I kind of just put them together and said, okay, I'm going to be a sex coach. And literally, no word of a lie, that's what happened. I literally put it down, sex coach.
Okay.
And then did all the things that I needed to do to become qualified, of course. But literally, that's how I just put sex and coaching together. Didn't even know.
It actually goes together quite well. So let's talk about this. Sex coach versus sex therapist. What's the difference?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that question. Everyone asked that question. And to be honest, for a while, I didn't even know the difference because I was like, it's the same thing. But in the layman's terms, a therapist, what they do is they go back to the past and work out what has happened in the past to make you or to explain why you are the way you are now, today. So whenever you go there, they'll go back to the past, look at what happened in the past, if you've had any traumas or anything that's affected you, to determine why you are currently the way you are in whatever area of your life it is. However, with a coach discusses where you are today and where you want to go, and then creates an action plan and have a discussion and say, okay, if you want to be in, say, for instance, I don't know, I mean, for whatever, if you want to learn how to give your husband a blowjob, for instance, we're going to go there. It's a case of, okay, you don't like doing it now. Why don't you like doing it? What can we do to make you more comfortable in order to start giving your husband a blowjob? So is it the fact that you need to overcome the holding of your husband's penis? Is it the fact that we have to overcome the fear of tasting sperm? So it's kind of working through those thoughts and limiting beliefs to get you to the point where you're uncomfortable to do that. We don't go backwards.
Right.
Now, someone would say, but hang on, what if they've suffered sexual trauma? Now, a responsible sex coach, if they recognize that during the conversation that something has come up that is beyond the scope of a sex coach, they need to refer their client to a sex therapist. And that's what I would do.
Okay.
I would never take on therapy because that's beyond my scope, and I would do more damage, which is wrong.
Okay. And that's actually quite responsible and actually very, very, focused, because you know your limitations and you know what's best for your client. And if you feel you can't be the best thing for your client, it's amazing that you can actually say, yep, I'm not the best person for you, but I know who is.
Oh, most definitely. Because the thing about it, if you resolve the past, the therapist is still going to bring them back to the present, and they will still need coaching to move to the future, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
So, so I don't see it as doing myself out of business, because if I do my client harm, then I shouldn't be paid. That is just not, that would just be unethical for me anyway. I just think that would be wrong. Shouldn't do anyone damage, because everyone needs help.
And I think that's something that, with the coaching industry the way it is, a lot of people are getting into it, and it's like, you must remember that you need to be responsible for your clients' well-being and not do them any damage in the process.
Totally. And I know at the moment there's this uproar about the fact that the coaching industry is not as regulated as it should be, because of the fact that in effect anyone can call themselves a coach. But I think that as a professional, you should do your own due diligence for your own business and make sure that you are capable of helping your client, because they're paying you money that they've worked hard for. And if you can't do it, there's no shame in saying, actually, I think this is beyond me. Can I refer you to someone else? Or I don't think we can work well together.
Well, this is actually I actually think that that's actually very important, and more coaches need to do that. But before we stray into the whole conversation about, the coaching regulations and the coaching practices of other coaches, let's get a little closer and a little more comfortable, because tonight we're talking about sex. We're talking about how to unlock the secrets to having a great sexual relationship with our partners. We're talking about getting past the stuff that, especially for Black women, that holds us hostage. So let's talk about this. So let's start looking at, I have this question. Now, you have couples who have different sex drives. How can couples manage that so that they're not kind of unhappy because one person wants more, one person wants less? What's the middle ground, and what can they do?
Now, that is actually one of the most common questions that you find, even if just someone's just talking to you. And for me, what I would always suggest to couples is, the first thing is talk. You have to talk. The reason why I don't say communicate, because communication is very different for different people, is to talk. Talk about the issue of a mismatched sex drive. When you talk about it and you both identify that, yes, because the thing about it is that the husband would say, oh, my wife is not this. The wife is saying another thing, but they're not actually talking to each other. If you see where I'm from. It's separate.
They're talking at each other.
They're saying it to their friends. Yes. They're either telling their friends, or it comes out as a complaint. Oh, you don't want to do it. Why don't you want to do it? And you're like, actually, talk to each other, acknowledge the fact that there is a mismatch in sex drive. Now, once you acknowledge that, it's okay, what can we do? Now, husband will say to wife, or wife to husband, what can I do so that you don't feel pressured, especially for the person that has the higher sex drive? And you listen and take note. And then she should ask you, what can I do to make you feel that, not to feel as though I don't want you? Because the thing about it is that when the person in the higher sex drive, when they're making, when they're making attempts to be romantic, or whatever word you want to use, foreplay, and you're saying, and the other person with the lower sex drive is saying no, they feel rejected, they feel hurt, they go defensive. So it's having that conversation, it's asking the question, what can I do so that you don't feel rejected? And it's then working out a balance of, okay, maybe 3 times a night, or 3 times a week.
Hey, I mean, if you can get 3 times a night, why not? Come now, Duchess, why not?
If you can, well, those that can, got a piece of their elbow. but if it's then it's coming to an arrangement of, okay, maybe you won't have penetration all the time. Maybe you will have more foreplay. It will be a case of, okay, we'll have oral sex, so that there's that need for penetration is not there, and that pressure isn't there. And it's slowly working out what is a happy medium for both of you. But you won't get it right immediately. But it's try and error of, okay, what if we have it 3 times? What if we have 2 nights of when we just have foreplay and that's it? And, if we orgasm, it's fine. If we don't, what can I do if you need to have a romantic bath, or if you need me to talk to you a lot more in the daytime to get in the mood? What can I do? Because what we tend to forget is that once you're thinking about yourself, you have to think about the other person, what the other person is going through. So if you and your wife are working 9 to 5 and both of you are coming in within 30 minutes of each other, your wife, and this is me being stereotyping, of course, the wife is going to come home. If they're kids, she's going to look after the kids and get the food ready, whilst husband is kind of just chilling and, de-stressing from the day. It's very hard for her to then put herself in the mode of, okay, you know what, then I'm now going to be sexy for hubby. That's a hard transition to do. And then so if she gets in the bedroom and she's like, actually, all I want to do is literally just lie down, watch a bit of TV, and then hubby comes in and is like, oh, it's touching, and she's going to be irritated. But if there's a way of, starting the conversation early in the day, she knows it's happening, and she's able to tell you, oh, babe, can you make dinner while I sort out the kids, and then I can have a shower, and then, you kind of get in the mood together. Those little compromises, those little discussions are the things that help. Now, I'm not saying it would work all the time, not at all. Sometimes it's literally the husband's actually, let me not even say it, the husband's or the wife's sex drive is what some people say is too much. He wants it every night.
Mm-hmm.
You have to reach a compromise of where somebody is unfortunately going to do without if you want to maintain a happy home.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be unfair for me to say that the person with the lower sex drive should just accept him whatever. No, you can't do that because you won't be enjoying it. So if it's not a medical condition, which means that they don't need to take any medication, they're not, going to the doctor and all that kind of stuff, and it's just that the other mindset, beliefs, or just tiredness that is causing it, or she's just not attracted to you, or she's not attracted to what you're doing, you're going to have to calm down a bit. And that's the sad fact. I won't lie and say, there's a magic pill. There isn't. And what then happened? Okay, go ahead.
Duchess, I was going to say, because you touched on something that is actually quite important, because you said about starting in the daytime and starting that conversation early. And you mentioned about and we're taking hetero relationships now with the gender roles and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. But we're saying you can't leave everything for one partner. So that partner can't come home, take care of food, take care of kids, do X, Y, and Z. And then after doing all of that, plus their day job, then it's easy to turn around and go, ta-da, sex goddess time or sex god time. It doesn't work like that, because obviously that person has done more of their full share. So to the folks that want it every night, the question is, are you pulling your weight at home?
Exactly. Because everybody wants to have the opportunity to feel sexy again. And you can't feel sexy from being in mom mode, dad mode, into, as you put it, goddess or god. It's not possible. You need that time to transition. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't got that time to transition, or even remember to transition, because sometimes we'd even forget to be sexy.
Yeah.
It's true. We forget to be sexy. We forget that actually, beyond being a spouse, a partner, a parent, an employee, that actually we are sexual beings.
Yes.
And we need that time to actually be reminded, and the space to transform into that.
Yeah, and that idea of that space that you've just spoken about, and that transition space, then the question is, do we need to have better sex routines to ensure that we have a happier sex life? And what sex routines can we put in place? Now,
see, not everyone would agree with me, but I am a firm believer that you should plan sex if there's a mismatch in your sex drive. Because some say, but it's supposed to be so spontaneous. And I'm like, life gets in the way of spontaneity.
Nobody got time for that.
Exactly. That's the truth. No one really has time for that. Because you're planning your time, you're planning your hours, everything is, So what I would say to anyone is, if you plan when it's date night, sex night, whatever it is you want to call it, so it's happening. So your husband, your wife, you can build each other from the day. Say, remember tonight's the night, or I can't wait for this to happen. So you're building the anticipation. So as everyone is playing their part and said, okay, you're going to go and have a shower, or you're going to go and have a shave, whatever it is that you need to do is all part of the routine to get to your place at night. Kids are going to go to bed a little bit earlier. You're not going to stay up and watch Question Time. You're going to have to come to bed if you decide to do it in the bedroom, depending on where you want to do it. But there has to be a sequence that is discussed so you both know. So if she's in, there's sometimes I can't remember, I saw a meme somewhere where it's like, if your lady comes to bed in matching underwear, you know that she's planning to have sex tonight. Mm-hmm. So it's that whole sequence of things. So it's it's talking about it in the daytime, the texting, can't wait for it to happen, planning and knowing that tonight is the night, but most importantly, keep your word. Keep your word. If Tuesday is your night, keep Tuesday your night. Don't put anything before it, unless it's an emergency. But keep your word so that you and your partner know that you are the most important person tonight, and I'm focusing on you and you alone. Because It's very important. Because what I've realized that happens that when you say to your partner, oh, I'm not in the mood, can we do it later? Or say, can we do it in the morning? And then you don't keep your word. What happens is that the next time that you're truly not in the mood and you say later, they're not going to agree. They're like, no, I want it now because you might not give it to me in the morning. It's true. So we really need to learn. I mean, my partner does that to me. I've said before, I'm like, oh, not now. No. Could be 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock in the morning, I can feel eyes on me. I'm like, what? It's like, you said 4 o'clock. And then and that taught me that actually I need to keep to my word because I shouldn't take my partner for granted to say, okay, oh, he would understand. No. If I've given my word, as I would give my word to you to say, okay, I'm going to do this, or I give to my boss or to anyone, I should also have that respect for him to say, if I'm going to say something that I'm going to do, then I should do it. So he can trust me. So the next time if I do say, babe, I'm really not in the mood, can we do it another time? He would just accept it because he knows I would not deny. Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying it's easy. Trust me, it ain't easy. But, you know, as everything in life, it's a learned process.
Yes. So, Duchess, you've pointed out some things that actually kill intimacy, not keeping your word to your partner, not making the plans, not actually making a space to transition into your sensual self. What are the other biggest intimacy killers in long-term relationships?
Oh, I mean, the biggest one is communication. And I don't even mean verbal. No, it's actually the non-verbal communication. It's the not talking, as in, when I say talking, as in truly having a conversation, not laughing, not playing, not spending time together. And that's just time without being mom, dad, whatever. Just the two of you, just being a couple. Mm. Because the thing is that when you're doing those things, you're the feeling, you feel closer to that person. So you're inviting them into your space. You're feeling bonded to them because you're laughing, because it's amazing. When you laugh, you open up, you're vulnerable. Mm-hmm. When you're talking, sharing ideas, you can just literally be yourself. And when you're not doing those things, intimacy just disappears. And that is why I say communicate, especially non-verbal communication, is so, so important. There are other things. You can say money, you can say a whole heap of things, family, stresses of work, all those things. But there are things that normally happen in everyday life, and it's just being consciously aware of them. But what actually happens is that whilst we're so busy chasing the money, making sure we provide a good home, be a good spouse in other ways, we forget the little touches.
Right.
The fact that your partner comes in and you give them a kiss means you notice them. You see them come in. You recognize their presence. But if you're just like, oh, hi. Oh, how was your day? No eye contact. He or she's not really going to want to tell you anything because you're not giving them your attention.
Yeah.
And then what happens? What normally happens then? What used to be a 5-minute conversation of just download would then become 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute to fine. And then you continue and you don't notice that they're not telling you anything anymore. Mm. But if you just take time out to just literally sit down, sit close, it doesn't even have to be sexual. And that's why sometimes I laugh when people say, oh, intimacy is not all about sex. I'm like, it's not about sex. But the truth of the matter is that the non-sexual is as powerful as the sexual. The communication, verbal and the non-verbal, are equally as important because we're social beings. So if we can learn to remember the touch, the kisses and the touching, it's amazing how they are the first things that go. If you think about it, they're the first things that always go. The hugging, just a simple hug. You don't hug anymore. Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, okay, you're back. That's it. Oh, can you get me that? Okay. Oh, good night. And that's it. You might have a brief touch to say, okay, yeah, we're done. But that deep, connection of hugging, of a proper kiss.
Yes. That
those are things.
True intimacy.
Exactly. And those for me, I would always say to anyone that comes to me is that these are the things that make you end up sleeping in separate beds.
I don't understand that one. You know what? This whole separate, mommy has her bedroom, daddy has his bedroom conversation. Yeah. No.
I'm like, I can have my own room for where my shoes, my clothes, everything goes. Yeah. But at night, I don't care if the whole top floor is our bedroom. We're going to sleep on one bed.
Exactly.
I mean, on one bed.
I agree. I will have my dressing area. You can have your dressing area, but yeah, that one bed we need to have that one bed.
Totally. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. I've just got a cold.
Okay. Oh, that's all right. So, we're talking about, returning intimacy to the bedroom. We're talking about trying to find that space to ensure that we have that great sex life. Here's a question I have for you, Duchess. Yes. Is it ever okay for people to fantasize about someone else while having sex with their partners? You're lying there with your partner, but you see, for some people it's Idris. I personally say no, but they're fantasizing about Idris, whatever floats their boat.
No. Well, Idris in the last film was pretty hot, but I digress.
I still say no to Idris. But that's a different conversation.
To be honest, it's a difficult one because everyone's unique. I think that you can fantasize prior, but if you're busy fantasizing about another person when you're with your partner, you're not present. You're not present and aware of what's happening to you and what you're doing to the other person. So I would say if Idris Elba gets you in the mood, that's fine. Whatever, as you said, whatever floats your boat. Me, it's a Ferrari, but that's a different ballgame. But anyway. But the truth of the matter is that you can't fantasize about another person and be consciously present with and be aware of what your partner is doing. So I would say no. You should be aware of the touch you're getting, the heat from your partner, the kisses, what you're touching them, where, their responses, your responses. That should be what should be going on in your head. Because that's how you know whether he's getting it right or getting it wrong, or whether you're getting it right for him and vice, all that. So I would say no.
Okay. All right. Folks, you've heard the Duchess. Fantasize before, after, probably when you're alone. But once you're in bed with your partner, be in bed with your partner.
Yes. Fully present.
Okay. So, the biggest thing that we've heard, and coming up, and people say, oh, God, I'm now a parent and parenthood ruined our sex life. How can we prevent parenthood from destroying the sex life?
Parenthood didn't destroy your sex life. You allowed your sex life to be destroyed because you did not prioritize yourself and your partner. Simple. I'm not even going to beat about the bush, no pun intended. It's literally that. What happens, and I'm a mum, so I can say this, and anyone that wants to jump down my throat is perfectly fine to do so. But the honest truth of the matter is that mums, especially, we tend to go into overboard mode of taking care of our kids because we're like, oh, they can't cope without us. We're their primary carers. We need to put them first. Nah. You don't put your children first. I'm sorry, you don't. You put your partner first. I mean, I've fallen foul of that, so I'm not saying that I got it right. Oh, no. But you need to put your partner first because your children have their time. Yes, if it's dinner time, you need to give them a bath. Yes. But you need to create time for your partner. You have to. You have to remember that they have needs. You got together with them before children. But if it's a blended family, you still went out on dates. That's how you guys knew you wanted to be together. Yeah. So you need to create that time. They are not less important on the list of things to do. They are more important than every other thing you need to do. Your children, if they're safe, they're fed, they're watered, they're in bed, your partner is important. Even if it's for that conversation. But you've got to allocate time for your partner, regardless of how busy you are. And if you notice it, think about it. Every time they talk about these superwomen in the city, they seem to manage to have 5 or 6 kids. Yeah, so they're making time for their partners.
Somebody's having sex.
Exactly. And they're still superwomen, managed CEOs and all that stuff, and still waking up to make muffins in the morning.
Yeah, but, they probably have an au pair or two and different structures. But they have something in place. They have something in place.
But that's the thing. They're organized. So even if they're organizing their sex life, they're still saying, in my diary, hubby has this time to this time. And, at the end of the day, the thing is, as long as you're fully present, your partner is not going to be that upset that you have scheduled them in. They will be upset if you're looking at your watch and saying, oh, we've only got 5 minutes. But if you're scheduled in and say, I'm going to give you full attention, 1 hour of you, it's just you and I. Trust me, that would fill up their tank, and that reconnection is there to keep them going.
Okay.
So we can't use parents, when it's a newborn baby, I kind of get it. You're knackered, all that kind of stuff. But as the children go and they're getting into a routine, you need to actively make an effort to put your partner on the list at the top.
Okay. All right. I like that. On the list at the top. So since we're talking about the little people that live in your house and somehow you have, and they're growing, when is it a great time to talk to kids about sex?
Oh, it's interesting it's a hard one, and I'll tell you the reason why it's a hard one, because the parents need to be able to talk about sex to themselves first.
Okay. Yes.
Do you see where I'm coming from? That's number one. So to talk to their child, now most people say 16, some will say 12. Personally, for me, I think as they're going into year 7, that conversation should be had.
For those people who are saying 16 and 12, porn has been teaching your child about sex for that time.
I agree. And if I'm being honest, my first education with my children probably happened, let me see, when was my son? I think my son was probably about 10. Very high level. And I remember my sister, their auntie, bought both of them a book about what's happening to their bodies, which was a full sex education book. And I had a very high level conversation with them. And then as my son was getting older, and I realized that actually he had found some porn on his phone. We had a proper conversation.
Right.
And from then on, it was literally, I just have the conversation. Any question they ask me, I answer. My 12-year-old daughter asked me yesterday in Boots, in front of the shop, the lady that was serving us, oh, would you, if my brother wanted to have sex, would you buy him a condom? I was like, looking at her like,
questions?
I am like, no, he's not. I know he's here, but he's 16 and it should be legal. And she's 12, so she's very much aware of what she's been taught in school. And there are two ways I could have just said, oh, don't ask me the question. And I said to her, my honest answer to her was, no, I wouldn't. Okay. And the reason why I wouldn't is because I'd rather he doesn't have sex just randomly, but he has sex with someone that he truly cares about. And I think that would happen later on when he's older. And also, I said, but to be fair, if he really needed a condom, he would have to go to a clinic, get his test done, and they'll probably give him free ones. But my preference would be that he doesn't. And she was like, oh, okay then. And and the thing about it is, I could have shut her down. And that's what I hope parents don't do, is that if your children do happen to ask you the question, don't shut them down. Don't shout at them, regardless of the age. You will know the ability of your child to understand and talk to them at the level that they can understand without going too deep. That's how I say it. So when I mean, 4 years old is way too young. Maybe 8, 9, just talk about where babies come from. You have to gradually introduce it, because the truth about it, the curriculum anyway is going to start teaching them about sex. So you might as well control the narrative.
And I think that's actually quite important. And then when we look at the places like the Nordic states, Denmark, Norway, Amsterdam, all those places, they have a completely different sex education for kids. And they have the lowest rates of teenage pregnancies, sexual assaults. They seem to be, their teaching is really about, sex. They're very sex positive. So why is it that we still have the hang-ups here about teaching?
I mean, if we go down to the fact that, okay, I'm Nigerian, and I would say from a Nigerian perspective, the truth of the matter is sex is a sin, full stop. We don't talk about it, we don't explain it, that's it. Sex is bad, you don't have sex before married. We don't have conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that with kids is that they don't talk to their friends. And their friends will tell them whatever they've heard as well.
Yes.
And there's no one to teach them any better. So you have people watching porn and think that's how sex is meant to be. Then you think about it that when I go back to men my age or older, so men in their 40s, 50s, their introduction to sex, and I'm being specific about Nigerians because I can only speak about my people, is either through an older auntie or the housemaid. That was it. That was their sex education, and then followed by porn. So they haven't even had the opportunity to have a true, proper discussion about sex. So how do they then have the conversation with young people? It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, or at least in an adequate form. And I remember I fell foul of that because I used to, when my son's friends would come to the house, I just used to say, "Don't be a fool, rap your toe. Don't be a fool, rap your toe." So I would just chant, and my son would look at me like, "Mom, seriously." And then I realized that actually I have to have a proper conversation for him not to think that, oh, okay, it's just a mantra without understanding the beauty of what sex is about. Because it's not just just a man entering a woman or however, no, it's not that. There's beauty. It's a physical, spiritual, mental connection.
Yes.
That is meant to happen. It's not just as it's in the movies where it's like, oh, you meet, oh, hi, you fall into bed, you have sex, you come out, everyone's close. No, it's more than that. And it's teaching them that it's more than that. It's not just about pleasing one person, it's about pleasing yourself and enjoying it and connecting with that person. But, it's something we have to try and do and have that boldness to have the conversation with our children, because our children need to know, because if we don't tell them, magazines are going to tell them. I had a young man come up to me and he said to me, "Oh, I can't have sex with my girlfriend." I mean, he was probably like early 20s. And I was like, why? Because every time people know that I'm a sex coach, they seem to just want to tell me stuff. And he said, because I watch a lot of porn and it's not the same way. And I was like, you do know that, one, sex is not as sterile as that. You don't just, and you don't just last as long, and you don't just come on schedule. And he says he knows that, but he can't separate himself from what he sees. So when he's with his girlfriend, he's not connecting to her as he's supposed to, so he doesn't bother. Or he takes something in order to help him. And it's a shame, because this is an intelligent young man who's been educated by sex that is not real.
Mm-hmm. And actually, it's not just young men. You have older men. You have men in the realms of their 40s, and even women who are actually comparing themselves at this moment, thinking, well, my body is inadequate. Why? Because I don't look like some porn star who, looks a certain way. I can't remember her name now off the top of my head. There was a porn star whose labia and is supposed to be has been termed as the beautiful labia, that now plastic surgeons have been doing this labiaplasty, where women are going in the States to get their labia to look like this woman's labia, because that's what they think is beautiful and what men want. And you're like,
no.
Can we hear ourselves?
Exactly, and I agree with you. And the thing about that, and this is like where I say social media doesn't always do us good, because men truly don't care, but they would come on social media and act like they do. If a man is aroused and desires you, he will go down on you. He don't care, because that's what he's designed to do. If he's attracted to you, he doesn't care about the faults. He doesn't care if he doesn't care if your inner lips are out. He doesn't even. He just wants to connect with you. Mm-hmm. But we get so hung up on what people say. Oh, you've got to have flat stomach, you've got a small waist, you've got to have big hips, and you're like, actually, when you're lying down, everything's going to go where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And if you're on top, it's going to go where it's going to go. And the truth of it, if you're not good, if you think you're not good, If you let yourself go, he will guide you on how he wants it done. She will guide you on how it wants to be done once you can be open. But if you're hung up on, oh, your breasts are falling south, there's slapping sounds, then you're not even truly enjoying it because you can't let yourself go. And it's such a shame. It's really such a shame because we're so afraid that we don't live up to some stereotype of a film that they've probably done like 20 takes in order to just give you that scene.
Yeah, and that's a shame, and it's affecting so much. It's affecting our intimacy. It's affecting body image, not just for women but also men. You have men who are like, well, I'm not as stacked as whoever whoever the it guy is supposed to be. It does have a lingering effect. But we've been talking about sex, and we've been talking about sex drives and everything, and I wanted to focus in now on our libidos, because our libidos changes. So what can we do to keep our libido vibrant? What can we eat to keep our libidos up as women and men?
Now, I've got to be honest, in a lot of people, I mean, if there's word sex in, I read it, and a lot of people say, what's the vegetable now? Asparagus, yes, But the truth of the matter is that, in all honesty, it's keeping healthy, it's exercising, because those are the things that keep you mentally alert, keeps your body physically fit. And because the thing about it, your brain is the biggest sex organ.
Yes.
So if that's alert by being healthy, and that's being mentally healthy, physically healthy, you're good to go. Yes, there might be some things that you can take. I mean, I don't subscribe to it, I have to admit, because I'm a carnivore. I love meat. And that hasn't affected me. So I don't really say to anyone, okay, you must eat more of that. I just say, be healthy. What healthy means to you. Be of sound mind. Be happy. Try and be stress-free. Have enough sleep. Drink enough water. Mm-hmm. And if you are truly in touch with being sexy, being sensual, being free, being vulnerable, being happy, you will have a great sex life. Because if you are happy within yourself, you're just going to show it to another person. If you're confident in yourself, you're not going to worry about whether or not you've lasted 10 minutes or 20 minutes, because you're happy to adapt to the person you're with. Mm-hmm. So I honestly wouldn't give anyone, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that can say, oh, drink that, eat that. Unfortunately, Duchess isn't one of those people that would tell you what to eat, apart from just generally just be healthy, because as anything, too much of anything is not good for you.
This is true. All right, I want to keep on the food thing, but I have this question, because you actually mentioned something about adaptability in the bedroom, and when you're present you can tell what's going on and everything. So let's say you're in a new relationship and you guys have just started being intimate, and he's not doing it for you, or she's not doing it for you. What is the best way to have the talk with your new partner to say, whoa, you are off the mark and we need to discuss this?
I would always say never tell someone they're off the mark. It's so crushing, so destroying, because they think that they're doing their best. I would always say flip it and say, I love it when you do this because it makes me feel this way. Go with the positive. So you go with the positive verbally. So after it's done, whilst they're touching you, doing your response, your emotion, exaggerate it so they know, because we like to please each other in bed. It's like, especially for men like to please. They want to show that they're the don. So they go with what you are responding to. So I would say, oh my God, when you touched me there, I felt this way. Oh, when you touched me there, I felt this way. So it's positive reinforcement. And that's what they're going to remember. However, if you say, oh, I don't like it when you touch me there, if you say anything else that's positive, they ain't going to remember. Because all they're going to remember is the bit that they didn't do well. So I would suggest it's positive reinforcement. and keep saying it. I loved it when you did that. Oh, I love it when my ears are caressed. I love it when you suck my nipple harder or suck, whatever that thing is. So they're going to go there. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some people, once you tell them once, then that's where they live. They will just stay in that position. but you know what I'm talking about. But it's a case of, and just say, oh, baby, I loved it when you did that. Oh, sometimes I really like to have my toes sucked, and he would try it because it pleases you. Because all he's hearing is positive things, or she's hearing is positive things. But if you go down the route of saying, no, I don't think you're hitting this, unless you don't want to be with them anymore, then that's different. Then, you can say whatever you want to say. But if it's something you want to nurture, you want to grow, then go with the positive and reinforce positively. And it will yield a better response from them, and you will benefit better than them being very nervous and like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And no. So that would be my suggestion. Okay.
And that's a very good suggestion. Now, in your article on your FB page, you talk about lovemaking being bad for you. Okay, Duchess, you need to spill the tea on this one.
So, I guess I have to start from here. I think what had happened is I was on holiday and I happened to talk about sex and, saying about whether sex, and people are like, no, sex isn't bad, and lovemaking is better. And I was like, why is lovemaking? I mean, it was interesting because people were so adamant that lovemaking was better. Excuse me. And I was like, but it's in my head, and I've got to be honest, to me, they're the same thing. There's no difference. But people were convinced that sex is casual. Sex is not. Sex is more when you're one night stands or when you're into BDSM, that kind of non-emotional physical activity. But lovemaking is when you're in love, it's slow, it's sensual and all that. And I was like, actually, to be fair, depending on who it is, they're right. No one's wrong because it is what it is to you. But if you spend all your time focused on the slow, the sensual, the lovemaking, sometimes that's boring. I don't care what anyone wants to say. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes you just want to be hit hard, come hard, and go where you're going. It's true. I'm not gonna,
I mean, no lies have been told, Duchess. No lies have been told. People, you can come and ask the Duchess. No lies have been told. Tell her.
So for me, it was a case of it's whatever. Because the thing about it, we have this attachment with the word sex. It's almost like sex is bad, lovemaking is good, and it's not true. But if you want it to be bad girls have sex, good girls have lovemaking. Fine. But the truth of the matter is sometimes your man wants a bad girl. The girl wants a bad boy. And that means they want a quickie. They want it hard. They just want it quickly. Just lift up your dress in the kitchen. Kids are upstairs. That's not lovemaking by using the definition that most people use for lovemaking. That's literally hard sex. Raw, animalistic, giving into your animal instinct of just having intercourse. And that's fine. And that's why I said lovemaking is bad for you, because you should have both.
Listen, I absolutely agree.
Because if you wait for lovemaking,
you have to set the mood. There has to be rose petals. And I'm going to put this out there. That whole fantasy of rose petals on the bed, wait till you have to wash the sheets the next day.
Wait till you have to find the petals in wrong places.
And then you're in A&E having to have a discussion why you have petals in places that petals should never be.
Exactly.
But, Prince said it best, that sex is both spiritual and the base. It's lovemaking is both spiritual and the base. It can be a spiritual interaction between you and the person, and it can be this dirty, raunchy, quick and dirty, as you put it, situation. So it's I think there is a conversation, and you spoke about the good girl and the good woman idea. Now I'm going to ask you this, Duchess: how do we kill the myth that good women do not enjoy sex? We need to kill that good woman nonsense, because it's killing people.
By doing what we're doing, by having this kind of conversation and having it all the time, and showing and going into the places of, and I'm not afraid to say, going into churches, because that's where that myth is coming from. Churches, and just say, you know what, you are not bad because you desire sex. You are not culturally. You are not bad just because you want to be on top and not a missionary position. You are not bad because you want to go down on your man or go down on your woman. You are not bad. But the only way we can do is by educating, giving information, and it's us that has to do it. Because I'm going to make it. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a gentleman who I put on my business page about how to go down on a lady. So there's a guy that wrote a step, and I'm like, he can do it better than I do. So I copied it, and he said, "Oh my God, that is terrible." So I said, "Thank you very much." He then sent me a private message, "Why are you thanking me when I didn't like your post?" And I said to him, "I know I'm doing a good thing for people and their marriages and their relationship, but I also accept that people not agree with what I'm doing because of how they feel about sex. However, there's nothing wrong with it." And he then decided to ask me questions, and by the time we'd finished our conversation, he was like, "Do you think a man can be a sex coach?" This is a man that thought, I was like, well, a man can be anything he wants to be. And I realized that what he needed was someone to talk to explain to him how he can introduce it to his wife, because he felt that his wife was going to accuse him of cheating because he wanted to introduce something new. And that's why I talk about the intimacy and the safe space. You should be able to trust that your partner can open a book, read it, and want to try it. Doesn't mean they've been outside.
True. Okay.
But it's only through education, by putting this information in the open, by us, for us, that is the only way that message is going to go through. And I love it. There are a lot of African people that are doing it. They're not, coming out as boldly, but they're still passing the message on and doing it, and giving people education. The churches are getting on board as well, albeit still at a very high level, and people are still shy because, the pastor's the one doing it. You're not going to tell your pastor, "Oh, by the way, I like to do this." But I think that slowly, that by people boldly coming out and having conversations about it and saying, you are not bad. Truth of the matter is that if you take the Bible, King Solomon, oh my word, the man was busy. The man was busy.
What about David?
Exactly.
David had a wandering eye, sent somebody's husband to the war.
Exactly. And they still had direct access to God. So, and I'm like, and the way I see it is that if Solomon can have 300 wives and 700 concubines, that was me. He was busy, different one every day for 3 years. He was sorted. Man
didn't see the same woman ever.
Exactly. So I'm like, the truth of the matter is that sexual intercourse was created for a purpose. It's like when I remember doing research, and I found I didn't even know that the clitoris is literally only there for pleasure. It has no other purpose than for pleasure. 8,000 nerve endings, and I was like, I know it's there, but I did not know that. And that was, for me, was an eye opener. I'm like, if you were created and they took this little thing and put it there for just pleasure, then why would you think that you are bad because you enjoy physical intimacy?
Because the church told you so?
Exactement.
But you know what, Duchess, we will never finish the show if we start on that part.
Yes.
I have a couple more questions for you. So let's talk about this, because we're talking about the demonization of sex. How do you work around the demonization of masturbating? Because that in itself is a different kettle of fish.
Now, I am a firm believer that you cannot tell anyone how you want to be touched if you ain't touched yourself.
Yeah, but the Catholic Church said you go blind and grow hairy palms.
Yes, I know. I know they say that, but it's not true. But however, I will caveat that and say, if you're going to do that, don't get to the point where you do it all the time by yourself, because you get used to it and then you won't enjoy the touch of someone else. But it should be, if you're learning your own anatomy, I believe you should touch yourself to know what turns you on, what turns you off, the pressures, everything. And also add it to your foreplay. So if you feel like touching yourself, do it with your partner. Let him watch you. Let her watch you. Let her do it for you. But it shouldn't be taken off the plate or off the menu, do it together. If you have to combat that whole demonization of it. But with anything, I just think, truth of the matter is that you've got to know what turns you on, and self-pleasure is the way to go.
Okay. I mean, like you said, if you want to know what your body does and how your pleasure feels, you have to be able to know it to tell somebody.
Yes, exactly. You have to.
So let's talk about, we're talking about our pleasure, and the 50 Shades of Grey phenomena was extensive for most people. Have you seen it have an effect on couple playtime?
I think what 50 Shades did was kind of open people's eyes to the fact that BDSM doesn't have to be as extreme as they see it. Mm-hmm. You can play on the surface of it. So a little spanking, handcuffs, blindfolds is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's not by, depraved people. I know Christian Grey was depicted as someone who had demons, yes. But Anastasia, as you can see, I'm an expert on the book. Anastasia didn't. She was just a normal girl who didn't know she had this inside of her. Till someone said, okay, I think I see something in you. Mm-hmm. Treat the matter that if you're curious, try it. Because once you try it, you will know what your boundaries are. But I think yes, the book might not be written properly, but it gave people the opportunity to talk about it with their partners, bring the book. So something they might have been curious about, the book legitimized them to have the conversation. Mm. Because you'd be surprised how many people want a little bit of spanking, but had no opportunity to bring it up before. They're like, oh, you're weird. But that kind of gave, because it was so mainstream, it gave the opportunity for people to have a conversation. And I'm grateful for the book for that.
I think it was reported that places like Not La Senza and all of those stores had run out on every paddle, spanking tools, the little tie-up belts, and the handcuffs ran out during the time of when the book came out and the movie came out, that Ann Summers was struggling to keep up with demands for paddles for people who wanted to be spanked.
I'm not surprised. I have one. I have a grey one. You should actually have one that has a label of 50 Shades. Because the thing about it is that and it was all, for me, I also went through my journey of experimenting, because the truth of the matter is it was a case of, I want to try what I like and what I don't like, and I wanted to open-minded person who would do this. The thing about the paddle thing was probably one of the safest things, because you didn't want to use your hand, because you'd be like, oh, maybe you're being smacked and told off, and to take you back to your childhood days. But the paddle was kind of a nice sexual play that just didn't invoke anything apart from play. Mm-hmm. You were just playing, and you could say too hard, too soft, whatever. And between that and, I don't know, blindfolds and handcuffs, I think, it was probably one of the safest things that people could use that made them feel that they were being kinky without being perverse, as their mind would make them think. Mm. So it did its thing.
It did its job. It did its job to open that conversation. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You're in a long-term relationship. You love your partner, but you realize that you're losing sexual interest in your partner. What do you do?
Oh, question is why? Mm. It's always why, because it could be that you yourself are going through stress, you're bored, you're being distracted by someone else. So there's a variety of things that are going on. Or it could be that your partner doesn't listen to your sexual needs, or their hygiene. There's a myriad of reasons. Excuse me. What I would suggest, that if it's your partner, if you believe it's your partner that's doing something, or they've changed and started doing something that doesn't float your boat anymore, it's finding a way to have that conversation to say, could we try something else? I mean, if it's hygiene, have a shower with your man. So I think it would be romantic for us to get in the shower together before having sex, if that's it. If it's a case that you're not talking anymore, I would suggest take sex off the menu completely and go and try and become friends again.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you should go, because once you become friends again and you're playing, it leads to things. It's amazing what play can do. Just having the fun, playing, tapping, that kind of stuff. All that brings back that playfulness and that intimacy. If it's that you're being distracted, you've got to check why you're being distracted, what's missing, why are you craving attention somewhere else. But the thing you have to do is ask yourself why. And I would always say, if you're going to ask yourself why, write down the answer so that you can write it all down, go back and read it. Because your subconscious tends to come out when you're writing. What I always tell my clients is, if you're struggling with something, free write for 20 minutes. Just write. Don't think about it. Just write. It's amazing how your subconscious starts to tell you things that are bothering you that you were not even aware of. If that makes sense. And that's how I would just put, why am I no longer attracted to my partner? If you can't truly get to the reason, and just literally write, and you find out that it will come out, and it will be something that you didn't even know affected you. So say, for instance, I have, as a person, I have what I call my non-negotiables. So the top three things that I can't compromise on. And if you start to breach those, my attraction and my desire to be with you would be gone or reduced. And if I don't tell you about it and say, okay, I'm no longer, so one of them for me is feeling secure in a relationship. And it doesn't mean financially, it's just the fact that I know where I stand. I know that even if I go off and travel for 10 days and come back, everything's all fine. Mm-hmm. If you start to act needy, I start to draw away. So I need to be able to have that conversation with you to say, actually, this is how I'm feeling. And then we can address it. So it just depends on what is causing that lack of desire or attraction. But you have to ask yourself the reason why.
Okay. So it calls for honesty. And even with that case of honesty, we still have cases where women are not communicating their sexual desires and thinking that their partner should know intrinsically or psychically know. And unless you are married to, psychic Bob, how do you handle that?
I think that is so unfair to men, because normally it's men that forget that, he should know. No one knows. I mean, I wrote an article saying, if you want to learn to ride a horse, you go and get taught. If you want to drive a car, you go for lessons. Nobody is born with the skills to make love, have sex, whatever. You have desires, yes, they're innate, they're in you, but the skills you learn. If your husband, your wife, girlfriend, whatever, is not getting it right, and you don't want to positively reaffirm for them, so they're literally zero, then you've got to teach. You've got to say, okay, can we try this? Oh, okay, go harder, go softer. Lead their hand. Tell them where their hands need to go. You have to, they're not mind readers, because what works for Annie doesn't work for Mary. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. Everyone is different. So we cannot presume that a man should know what to do all the time. He might know the basics of, okay, maybe I kiss her, touch the nipples. But the truth of the matter, some ladies like their nipples tweaked, some like it pulled, some like it chewed, some like it don't touch at all. So you've got to let him know.
Yeah.
If not, you're being unfair to him and to yourself.
It's our responsibility. Your pleasure is your responsibility, the same way your happiness is your responsibility.
Thank you. It's not someone else's. It's your responsibility. But people forget that.
So, Duchess, we've had some listeners drop you a message. Miss O says you're doing a great job. Very interesting topics, and she's learning loads. She goes, educational and entertaining, excellent blend, positive reinforcement.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, yes, I am just, like I said, I will sit down and talk to you from now to the end of time. But we have come to that point. Let us talk about our So Loud moment of the week, where we celebrate a person or someone who you want to celebrate, that you go, yes, this person is really amazing, or this thing has happened. So what is your So Loud moment of the week?
I think for me, personally, this is a hard one. I think it's Actually, no, I would say something else. It's realizing that actually what I'm doing now, and I think this week I reinforced it by you asking me on here, another of my friend asking me to do a conference, and me doing a radio show, that actually that this is not just a business for me, it's a purpose, and people need what I'm offering. And it's not just for the money, it's because it helps relationships. And if I can help someone's relationship, I'm good. And knowing that is amazing. If that makes sense. It's just an amazing feeling to know that something I say can make someone's marriage last another 10, 20, 30 years. That's just amazing.
Well, that is absolutely amazing. And let's celebrate that with a round of applause. Yay! So I do have some more questions. And, there is a lot of questions that have come up when we were researching. And we've talked about fantasies. We've talked about, should you fantasize, should you not? But then you have people who have sexual trauma. Mm-hmm. How can someone heal from sexual trauma to actually enjoy a full sexual relationship again?
Now, for that one, they need to go and see a therapist. Mm-hmm. Because the honest truth of the matter is that you can't deal with it on your own. And I know people like to say, oh, I'll pray about it, I'll talk to family. You need someone who is experienced to help you walk through that.
Hello? Hello, Duchess? I think we've just lost Duchess for a moment. Let's work on getting Duchess back on. And
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. I apologize. It's my son playing around. Yeah, so as I was saying, you need someone who's experienced to enable you to walk through that trauma and let go of what's holding you back. So I would always suggest, please always seek professional assistance to be able to let go of that trauma, because without letting go and releasing that shame, that guilt, especially of what's happened, you won't be able to move forward. Mm-hmm. And even if you are intimate with someone, you're married, you are just coping and hanging in there. Mm-hmm. And what will happen is one day you're just going to crack. So I would always say there is no shame in seeking help. Please seek help. I mean, that is my mantra. That's why I always say I went to see a therapist, because it's amazing how they unlock things that are holding you back, because the subconscious is designed to protect you. Mm-hmm. And it would do anything to make sure it protects you from harm, from pain. And you'll find out that you're not fully opening yourself up in your relationship because you're afraid that something might happen. And therefore, you're just denying yourself. So my advice is seek professional help. It is definitely worth it.
Okay. And that actually is very powerful advice. And so I have a few more questions. How do you currently self-care? What do you do to take care of the Duchess?
Oh, what do I do to take care of Duchess? Okay. I love to travel and I love hotels. So what I do, either with the kids or without the kids, I tend to take myself away to a hotel for the weekend every 3 months if I can, and just literally get away from the whole world. I love to dance. So I go out with my girlfriends and I would just dance from, I keep on dancing till the lights are on. I just love dancing. That's what I do. I read a lot and I like my own, and I spend time in my own space just thinking about stuff. Mm-hmm. That's how I take care of myself. So I'll just shut the world out, no social media, nobody. And literally, as I said, because I'm divorced, my ex does take the kids. And so when he has them for a weekend, that's my weekend to kind of just be me. I'm not mum. I'm not anything apart from just being me. And I just stay in my own space, catch up on TV, and just do whatever I like. And I like to, sorry about this, but I like to walk around naked as well. So it just
Girl, why are you apologizing?
Because some people don't want to know, but it just makes me feel very free. So I've just as the West is, I've taken off all the shackles of everything, and I'm just in my own space, and that's how I take care of myself.
Awesome. Okay. And you talked about, how much you love to read. What are you currently reading, or what was the last book that you read that nourished your sexuality?
Oh, okay. See, I have to admit, nowadays I use audiobooks because I realize that I can't always sit down and just hold a book in my hand. And I'm not one of those that believe in, what's the word I'm looking for? The smell of a book. No, I don't care. So at the moment, the last thing I read was Straight Talk, No Chaser by Stephen Harvey. And that's literally, he's talking about answering questions that women have about men and understanding men better. Mm-hmm. So that's the last book I read. And currently, I'm reading Social Media Marketing. Gotta be honest, that's what I'm reading at the moment, Social Media Marketing.
It's got to be done.
It's got to be done, and it's such a minefield. But so that's what that is. I love Steve Harvey made me come out as a sex coach because I battled with being a sex coach, and I read the book Jump, and I just jumped.
Okay.
And for me, and every time I love listening to the things that he said because I truly like the way he reasons about men and women and all that kind of stuff. Some people don't like it, say it's a bit too old school, but you know what? There's nothing wrong with a bit of old school putting a modern twist on it because of the world we live in. But I do like the whole way he thinks, and I'm just like, he makes sense to me, and so I just kind of just like most of his books.
Okay, I will have to take a look at the Jump and take a look at the book and give you some feedback. So you've actually said a few things. When you were talking earlier about certain questions, you talk about speaking your perspective as a Nigerian woman from that perspective. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about, the good woman or the good girl myth that holds women hostage. Mm-hmm. But then my question is, the black woman, and we can say black women generally, we seem to be the most heavily policed in terms of our sexuality and sensuality.
Yes.
How do we actually take charge of our own sensual being?
That's a hard one. And the reason why I say it's a hard one is because we're all coming from different places. I think because we've, as black women, we've kind of grown up where we have to fight to be accepted at work, and then we're told we're too aggressive, and then we're told you're married and you have to be good at that. So we're always trying to be great at it, and we work hard at it. So we've started to embrace our masculine energy a lot. Because we like to be great. I'm not saying anyone else doesn't, but for us, we're go-getters. We want to be the best at what we do. We're like go big or go home. And in order to do that, we embrace our masculine side a bit more. And then because we're then also coming from a place of where we're being told that you have to submit, you have to do that. So we're like, okay, no, I don't want to be that. I want to be a different way. So sometimes we are confused, not because we don't know any better, but we're like, how do we balance being, I don't know, maybe let me use the word feminist, being feminist, being a black woman. A black man says a woman is too hard, we want to be soft, but then we're too soft and we can't progress in our careers. So sometimes we're not getting the balance right, because even the people that we're trying to be soft for, I'm not even sure what they want, because they would say, oh, I admire you, you're a strong woman, but then complain because you're strong. So I think for us, it's kind of we just need to stay true to ourselves. And that is true to you. So you, Lillian, stay true to you. Me, Duchess, I stay true to me. And that's the best that we could do. Be our authentic selves. Because if we keep changing, we're going to lose ourselves, and whoever we come across will never get the true us. And therefore, they're missing out. And we're missing out on a true connection. So I just think that as Black women, we just need to be authentic to ourselves and not listen to what everyone else is saying that we should be, but just be ourselves. That's how I see it.
Awesome. So, Duchess, how can people connect with you to work with you?
Okay, so there are various ways. I mean, as I'm in London and maybe people listen on the podcast are abroad, so I can be contacted on my Facebook page, which is Duchess Secrets. And my telephone number is on there. My email address is on there. And they can book an appointment on there. And the same with Instagram, which is SxDuchess, because I couldn't spell the word sex because they won't let me. So it's SxDuchess without the E. So Instagram as well. And my website is currently being built. But on both ones, you can get my email address, which is info@duchesssecrets.com, and my telephone number is on there, which is plus 44 7464 552121. Contact me WhatsApp, and I'm always there to pick up.
Okay, so my last question, Duchess, last question. Who would you want to be stuck on a deserted island with?
Ooh. Now, see, you should give me heads up on that when I thought about it. But let me see. I am thinking, if I'm being honest, I would want to be on an island with. I honestly got to think it would be Steve Harvey, and the reason why I say so is because he has, and this is me personally speaking of it, he has so much wisdom and he's gone through so much that he'll be able to find out how we can survive, keep me entertained because he's funny, give me nuggets of wisdom that I can use to write a book when I leave the desert island, and literally just keep me company. So I really think it would be him.
Okay. All right. Yes. Steve Harvey.
Our number one fan.
All right. That took me by surprise, but okay.
Why did that take you by surprise?
Well, I'm here thinking deserted island. I'm stuck for a while. I don't know. Steve Harvey wouldn't be my first choice. That's just me.
Who would be his first choice?
Oh, no. We're talking about you, girl. We're talking about you.
I love to laugh, and I think the truth of the matter is that if you can get me to laugh, you've probably got 60% of my attention. And if you're then intelligent, because I'm sapiosexual, so if you've got things in your brain that can, then I would just want to listen to what you say all the time. I'll just listen, and I'll be content. And that's why for me, because I find value in a lot of what he says, and the fact that he's a big advocate for marriage, despite being married and divorced 3 times. I just like it because and the thing is, I'm passionate about marriages. I just think it's an amazing thing, or committed long-term relation. I just think when you're with someone for so long, where you know this is it, this is where I want to be, this is who I want to share my life. It excites me a lot. So that's why it's Steve Harvey.
Okay. Well, Steve Harvey is it. So, Duchess, I cannot thank you enough for being on the show.
Oh, thank you. I had fun.
Yeah. We have to do this again because I had plenty more questions.
No worries.
We need to get this together again and have another conversation. So, folks, if you have enjoyed this conversation, this snippet of a conversation that I've had with the SxDuchess, reach out to her via Facebook, Insta. Her website is being built. She left you her number, and connect with her, and so that you can actually make sure that you are keeping your relationship happy, growing, and vital. You have a vibrant sex life with your incredible partner, and if you just want to get to a point where you know your own body a bit better, know your desire better, she's a woman to talk to. Folks, it's a wrap. You know what to do. If you've enjoyed the show, drop us an iTunes review, send us a message, hit us up on Insta, Facebook, Twitter. You know where we live in terms of our social media. And let us know. And so, if you also want to hear more from the Duchess, send us a message and we will have her back on the show sooner rather than later. Duchess, once again, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's been really great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ooh, Miss O has popped back up and she goes,
Yeah.
He stimulates her mind. Steve Harvey is a brain tease. Oh, Lord.
See, I'm not alone.
Oh, Miss O, stop it. He's a brain tease. Oh, my God. Ladies, it's been a pleasure. It's been fun. And so, Duchess, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to The Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter @Shine Out Show.